I'm more than happy to be off the boat.
Yeah, I know you guys are doing it tough. And for everyone around the world, I hope everyone's staying safe wherever they are. So just for those who are not familiar with exactly who you are and what you do, can you just give a brief intro?
Sure. So I've been at the company just over 10 years, and my role as a strategic development manager for video is that I work with customers and technology partners to understand sort of where things are at in the Australia-New Zealand region and make sure that everyone understands what we're doing and how people can make the best of the products that they've got at their fingertips. And then any feedback loop that comes back as well, I then pass that back up into the product teams and engineers, and we kind of work as a team to make sure that everything that you're wanting to use is working correctly. And if it's not, then we confirm how to make it not work, and then we get on to fixing it. And then when we've got really cool new things, which we'll be talking about today, we get to tell everybody about it and get people super pumped about it, and testing. And again, just re-enabling this whole feedback loop. So I kind of be like the conduit between the products, how cool they are, what you can do with them, and then what it is that you want it and need it to do, and just make sure that Adobe's got their head around it and you guys have all got your head around it and everyone's having a great time.
Awesome. That's great. Now, anyone who wants to ask a question to JB, if you're on YouTube, perhaps jump over to the Behance live stream, and then we can definitely get that engagement happening, and I'll be sure to ask JB those questions. Now, we have a few things we want to discuss today, especially some of the new stuff around the 22 version of Premiere, and even some exciting things that are in the beta. But why don't we first talk about some of the updates that have come through for Premiere? Where do you want to start with that?
Yeah, cool. So I've got prepared something where I think this is one of these things that we kind of call JDIs. It's like a just do it thing. And we started doing this way back. And internally, we keep talking about, what's the next JDI? What's the next just do it sort of thing that's going to help people get through a big thing that's like a little thing for us to make, but it has a big impact. And the one thing that came out with the 2022 release for Premiere Pro that I think is understated and is going to make a big difference is this functionality called Simplify Sequence. So the sequence I have open right now is
definitely not simplified.
Pretty complicated, but I just want to highlight a couple of things going on here. So not only are there lots of tracks for clips going on, and that happens in the creative process, you try this, you try that, different takes, different angles, different B-roll, all that sort of stuff. But also, as you're working, you kind of get a little messy, and there's things like these shots here that I'm just selecting right now. They're all dark, and that means that they're actually disabled. So if I was to right-click on any of them, you'll see that Enable's not turned on. If I click on a shot underneath that's got a lighter color, you'll see that it does have the tick box that it's on. So there's actually quite a lot of these shots that are sitting there messy, making a really messy kind of timeline. That's shots that are not actually being used. And then we've got two tracks here that are set to mute. So you can see that they're highlighted, they're the right color and they're enabled. But the fact that they're muted tracks, we maybe want to just clear them out as well. So to manually go through and select this and then this and that, and I'm already taking forever to go, all right, I want to delete them. Then I want to maybe right click here and delete that track. And then I've got to delete the next track. And maybe I want to bring these shots down. So then it's all on one track. You can imagine it takes a long time to clean it up, tidy it up. And why is this important? Well, if you want to archive, you just want to keep just the clips that you're using. So you can archive just the shots. So if you create a new sequence, so let's see, if you go to File Export, it's not selected right now, so I'm going to show you how to do this. Selection is Premiere Project. So if you want to archive something and you've got your final timeline, then you can reveal the sequence in the project. And while that's selected, then you can make an exported Premiere project file, like a whole new project, just based on that sequence and only the footage and content that that sequence had.
Okay, so you're almost creating a template for that. Is that what that kind of helps you create from there?
Well, you're making a really tidy, tight project that you can then archive on its own. And so all the extra footage, because we always have way too much footage for what we really need at the end of the day, instead of having to make like long-term archive copies of everything, you just want to archive the bits that are relevant to the final video edit, right? And so that's just a way and a reason why you want to tidy things up. Now, in order to tidy it up, super simple, you select the sequence or the timeline, and then you go into sequence menu, and down the bottom here, we've got simplify sequence.
Okay.
So you saw how messy it was. Now look at all the different options. I just tick a few boxes. I can make it super simplified. So let's take out the word messy, and we'll just leave the word simplified in there. Now you can flatten any multi-camera clips. So those of you who use multicam in advanced ways, this is a huge time saver. If you need to hand over something for a grade, you want to make sure that those multicams are actually flattened out. So the XML will go over and will hand over like super easy, no problems. The other thing you want to remove is like empty tracks. So we're going to get rid of any empty tracks, any disabled clips, disabled or muted tracks, any offline clips. We might keep the transitions. Sometimes you want to get rid of graphics because you need to, maybe it depends. If you do broadcast, sometimes you need it without graphics, but we'll keep them in. And then check out how many markers I've got in the sequence as well. So I want to get rid of just the green ones. The other ones, the orange, happy with that.
Yeah, that's really good, because you may only need to get rid of those specific markers, but keep other ones for later on.
Yeah, people use markers in different ways. You come up with your own little methodology of sort of why you use certain color markers, and you might want to keep certain ones. So when they're green, maybe that's in your head, you're like, or the way you work with your team, you go, when they're green, they're ticked, they're tick box. We've gone through, made those changes. We use them as comments to make changes. They're done, take them out, we're good to go. We don't need them anymore. So there's a few different other options in here as well. Play with this. It's super easy to then hit simplify. And what it does, it makes a new copy of that. And I'll show you what the difference is here. So let's have a look. We've got the simplified version there. And look how clean that looks. Like, that's pretty cool.
So
this is the original. This is the original.
I was going to say, yeah. I try and edit like that, but it ends up sometimes looking like this. So
yeah, right. So you try to edit where it's like clean, but that's the creative process, right? You're in the messy middle, and you just got ideas. You don't want to sort of spend time making things neat and tidy. You just want your idea to communicate, and you want to. Oh, I want to keep this option, so maybe I'll put that down and I'll put this other option above it, and things get a little messy. That's totally fine.
First thing that came to my mind was when I saw it simplify into those spaces, especially where the video tracks are moved down onto the V1 track, was what happens if it's like 1 second out, or what happens if it actually shifts something along? Would that happen?
Won't shift it. Nah. All it's doing, I'll just sort of show you the slow way to do it.
Yeah.
What it's doing is it's going, okay, so this here, I'm just going to move that straight down, right? So it just then squashes everything else and it just makes it flat.
Nice.
And then this one, it's doing this, and this one is doing this, and oh man, this takes forever. So this is not fun, right? So I'm just going to undo. Get rid of all that stuff, put it all back where it was, because I need my demo, right? But you can see, like, it just makes it way easier. So now what I can do is I can have, this is my sequence, and then I'm going to reveal the sequence in the team project. And then while that's selected, I can then go off and export that selection of that sequence as a separate project file on its own. And any clips that I decided were not part of my final edit, I don't need to worry about them now. When I do my project management, they all come over and I just have the ones that I need. So this is really cool.
That's really good. Hey, we've got a question that's just come through. Did John move clips up and down using the down arrow or something like that?
Oh, see, this is why it's cool that we have this interactivity.
Yeah, I love this.
And it's live, right? So I don't even think about it, but I'm like using keyboard shortcuts. And then people go, what did you do? I love it. That's a great question. Thanks for asking. And anyone else, you got questions, just stop us and just ask me. So the keyboard shortcut, I'm on a Mac at this point, but if you're on Windows, I'll tell you that keyboard shortcut as well. So what you want to do, you select the clip, and then on a Mac, you hold down the Option key. If you're on a Windows machine, you hold down the Alt key, and then you tap the arrow down. So I'm still holding the modify key, we call it a modify key, holding Option and just tapping down. And it just literally goes down. And then I tap up and it goes back up again.
That's brilliant.
There's no potential of using the mouse and maybe slipping it a little bit out of sync. Like it's sticky, it's pretty sticky, but yeah, sometimes, you might even have the this button off, like the snap in timeline. You might have accidentally hit the keyboard shortcut to turn it off. And then as you pull it down, you're like creeping, just a little creep, and you make gaps. When you use the keyboard shortcuts, there's no gaps because straight down, straight up.
That snap in timeline function has saved me a lot in the past. It's really handy.
So here's a cool hot tip on this, right? It's not new. It's been around forever, but it might be new for you. The S key is the snap keyboard shortcut.
Yeah.
Now, it's off right now. If you look in the top left, you can see that the horseshoe that's upside down, it's like a magnet.
Yeah.
The snapping, it's not blue, it's gray, meaning it's off. Now, while I'm still moving my mouse, right, still holding that clip and moving it, I can tap S and turn it back on. Boom, and now it snaps. So even though I haven't let go of the mouse, I'm able to turn temporarily off or temporarily back on the snapping function.
That's great.
Cool.
Little things like that, that they're really golden nuggets to help you get to the finish line faster with things like this.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was transcript. Okay. So this is something that came out in the late 2020 release. Late 2021 release. And now we're in the 2022 release. And there is the ability to transcribe what's being said. Now,
so for those
this is just dialogue.
Sorry to cut you off, John.
Sorry, man.
For those who are not familiar, so this process is a transcription process that basically brings down speech to text, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if I can hide this. This is getting in my way. I want to hide those floating controls. Done. Good. Okay. So yes, and what's really cool about it is you can take what's transcribed as speech into text, and then you can create captions for it. And that's really cool when you're doing any social video, especially because you want to be able to read that there's captions there. 'Cause sometimes you scroll through and you'll be like, I'm not sure if I want to watch this. But when you start reading the captions, because you haven't hit play on it yet, you're like, oh, hang on, maybe this is interesting. Then you click in and then you experience the whole thing, right? So that's a really, really good way to capture engagement, even though people are still just scrolling through. So captions, super important if you're doing social media content. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna just go in and do this transcribe, but I want to highlight a couple different things. So what we got here, I've got a couple different tracks, and here's a cool thing that we're going to do. I'm actually going to right click in here and I want to customize what we're looking at. So this A1 is like the name of the track. I'm actually going to hide, sort of notice here it says VO. I actually want to bring it up to the side. So to do that, you then grab that A1 and bring it to the side. So now when I hit OK, even though my height of my tracks are super short, I can still see the name of the tracks. Because before they were too short and it was underneath, and so it couldn't show me. But this is, I'll show you why in a sec. This is important.
Yeah, that's handy because you want to identify what those tracks are. Like you've got there, sound effects, voiceover.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is that's a side tip, right? It's been there forever, just a side tip. But it makes sense when you start doing the transcription. So when you hit transcribe sequence, you can choose then which track. So if you have a voiceover track and you got a mix of other tracks, instead of saying, let me do the full mix down. All right. Sorry about that. Let's just jump back here. I'm getting things popping up. So when it says mix, what it does is it takes every single audio that's stacked inside your sequence and it does the full mix and tries to extrapolate dialogue out of what might be a mix of sound effects, might be a mix of music, and that can influence the quality of the speech that it analyzes into text. So it's a good idea to know that you want a specific track and you put all your dialogue in a specific track. Now notice I got a second one here. Now the reason why I highlight this is because this is new, this is cool. So in here you can say, I want the audio clips that are tagged as dialogue. So when you select your audio and you use the essential sound panel, you can assign them as voiceover or dialogue. And then you got, well, you can do that. So that's another feature that's been around for a while, where you say, hey, just assign them.
Yeah.
Well, it's not now doing that. What it does is it knows when they're tagged as dialogue, because maybe you use some effects and things that means that they are, but you might have some other ones where you go, it's a voice, but I don't want that to be dialogue. It's like I don't know, you've got a reason why, but you can isolate. And this is what's cool. So I'm going to say, all right, let's try it from the mix. Although, just know you've got other options. Now I'm going to make it the UK version because that's the Australian spelling system is based on the UK version. So we're going to do that. And then we'll hit transcribe and we'll let this little 30-second clip do its thing. And notice here it's uploading to a server. And so what it does is it makes a little MP3 file and it sends it up into the cloud, and the cloud does analysis, and Adobe Sensei does its cool stuff in the cloud, and then it sends back down a transcript. So you can keep working as well. So I want to just iterate that that's happening in the background. You keep working. You don't have to wait. Oh, it's finished. Sorry, mate, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say it's going to listen to the audio, specifically the voice, and then be able to put it into text format, which it's done right here.
Exactly. Now, what's cool about this is you can search for certain words. So if we look for the word friends, I can spell friends. Oh, there we go. So it says friends twice. Now I can do this. I can either select the word and the playhead in the timeline goes to that word. So if I hit play, it will say friends. Let's listen.
Friends and family.
Brilliant.
That's pretty cool. Now the other way, instead of just clicking on it, right, I can actually use this to just dial up and put the playhead based on where I want it to go based on this. So we've got friends again. If you want, you could even do replace. So if there was someone's name, let's say, and it spelt their name wrong, then you could say, look for the spelling that you thought it was, and then go and replace it with the correct spelling. So if you're used to doing this sort of stuff with, Word documents or other text editors, that's kind of what you do here. Pretty cool.
We've got a question. We've got a question.
Yeah, go for it.
From Anna Hodge. Is this solely for English UK now, or do you know what languages are coming next?
Okay, so when we launched it, there was 13 languages. Now, here's the thing though. So I'll go back to transcribe sequence here and we'll just take a look. So this is the current list. All right, so you've got English, which is going to be US English. And then you got the UK version, and then you got different languages. Now, it's not going to do a translation for you. So you can't have something that's in English and then go, ooh, do Spanish captions for me. Woohoo! That would be mind-blowing if it did that. I just want to give the caveat that it's like the language it's listening to is the language that it will be doing the transcript and then the captions for. So it's got to be the same language that it's hearing and analyzing. It can't do the translation because sometimes the translation things that technology is still not 100%.
So
we're not doing that.
You couldn't do English and then convert the captions to German as an example.
That's a perfect example.
Okay.
Yeah.
9.
9. All right, cool. So that's one of the things. Now, remember, I went and said, just don't do the things where it doesn't think it's dialogue, like it's not tagged as dialogue. And I deliberately left, I think, that clip there where it's not tagged as dialogue. So we'll just go back to the transcript analysis that it did. And I want to hear if that one got tagged because it shouldn't have, but maybe I messed it up because I was playing with this demo before and I maybe forgot to turn it off. Well, let's see if it catches it, right?
And family, with everyone I can. Self-care is an individual journey.
Yes, I forgot to turn it off. This last bit, you'll hear it, but you won't see it here because it's definitely not in there, right? So we'll go back a bit so we can follow along. We can see that it's in, and then you'll hear that last bit of dialogue on that track underneath, but you won't see it in there.
But it helps to have friends along for the ride. How do you take care of yourself?
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's because that was not tagged. Now, if you do have something that's missing or something gets added in, then I just really want to show you this really cool functionality where you just go, that bit's new. We've redone the dialogue. I've analyzed everything and we got this late change. And now, they want us to do the transcript and the captioning, and we just need this one bit that's been updated.
So what have you just done?
I just created an in and out range for that section that didn't get caught because it was not tagged based on the rules when I said go and make the thing.
Yep.
So now I'm going to go into the little 3 ellipses here and select retranscribe sequence.
Gotcha.
Then I'm going to say just the audio on the track and we'll do the mix. That's cool. But what I want to tick is transcribe in point to out point only. And then also merge that output with the existing transcription. So then it's actually going to take what's done and not redo it. Just do the new bit and then merge it together. So you don't have to wait as long.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, that's really handy, especially when you think that like the scenario you just gave, that you don't have to go in and just redo the whole thing. You can just do that specific section.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference, especially, there's always something that gets changed last minute. That's just the nature of the beast. And, you want to be able to just have that process happen, as efficiently as possible. So if you set those ranges and then you get it to just do the analysis and then merge, that's kind of cool. All right, cool. So now it's added this extra section in here, right? So now when I hit play.
Ride. How do you take care of yourself?
Nice.
Right, so just added it in. All right, now we're going to stay on this theme, but we're going to go into the beta. The beta is really awesome. I love the beta. It's all about the beta. Now, how do you get access to the beta? If you have a Creative Cloud subscription, you automatically have access to the beta. Now, where is the beta? How do I install the beta? The beta is the best, by the way. If you're not also using the beta to test things with us and giving us that feedback loop, like I was talking about, that's kind of a big part of my role. but everyone has a voice. So when you go into the Creative Cloud desktop app and then you look at the apps section, you could go down the column and you find beta apps. You will find all the video products here, and you'll find some of the other products as well. But because I care mostly about, Premiere and,
top of your list.
Babies. That's right. I'm just going to focus on that. So in here, where it will normally say install, because I've already got it installed, it says open, and that's how you go about installing it. Now, one thing I want to highlight as well is that the Premiere Pro 2022 is actually the new Apple Silicon, the M1 chips compatible. If you wanted to, because sometimes there's some third-party plugins and things. Can you just stop reminding me? I mean, it's good that it's reminding me to do these update things, but not while I'm demoing, man.
Live demos are great, aren't they, mate?
It's perfect. Yeah, it's so cool. So yeah, if you want to, let's say you need to open it in the Intel version, that gets installed at the same time. So you can just run Open Intel, and then any plugins and things that are not Adobe stuff, that's like third-party people, and they haven't quite caught up to the silicon chip compatibility, then when you run in Intel mode, then everything is going to work, right?
Okay, we got a question.
Yes.
This is going to be an interesting one, especially for you. Speaking of M1 chips, is PC better for video or Mac? Now, think about the question.
It's horses for courses. Yeah. What's the operating system? What do you like? Like, the software is compatible on both. Like, at the end of the day, it's up to you what you like. These new M1 chips, I will say, they are super quick. It's amazing the kind of results that you get out of these. But at the end of the day, the daily grind of like using an operating system is really the main thing. So I wouldn't be thinking like, oh, I want to use Premiere, but I want to get like the best hardware thing. Like, yeah, but the hardware bit that is fast is like the end.
Yeah.
It's the messy middle where you spend most of the time doing stuff. Or have I got that wrong?
No, it's a good point, because it's also what you're familiar with as well, right? So like,
absolutely.
Yourself, you've used PC recently, and now you're actually working off an M1 Mac, aren't you?
Yeah, this is one of the new M1 Max chips. Yeah. It's a 16-inch laptop. It's a very interesting machine, I will say that, yeah. But anyway, neither here nor there. Beta. Okay, so you go in, you install them, and you run them like that, blah, 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 blah. Now, the same projects that you run in 2022 are going to be backwards compatible with the beta. So it always works like that. So you can go in and say, oh, I'm working on this thing, and oh, I want to test a new thingy, and then you go back to the previous version, and that's kind of what we're going to do right now. So let's go into the beta version.
Just before you do, we had a comment from Darkside Beauty. She said, I'm assuming Darkside Beauty, that's really cool. It feels like a script, the transcription process. And I think that's the intention, right? Yeah, totally. Let's go back to boom, boom, boom. Okay, so we're in this bit here. And yeah, what you can totally do with this is just do a quality control check. So you play it back. And the thing is, this is what's really cool. You can play it back in faster than real time, and you'll still like hear what's happening and then see it and then be like, oh, wait, there's a word there that was maybe a little bit not quite right. The one thing that is in the beta is spelling. So notice this here. It's got a red underline for self-care. Like a Word doc almost.
Yeah. How many of you, and I need comments, put a Y for yes or an N for no, please interact here. Have you ever done any graphics, like titles of any kind, let alone captions, like titles, and just gone, oh, I wish there was a spell checker inside Premiere? I am expecting quite a few yeses to this. It's coming. It's inside of the beta, and we really want you to test it because we really want to make sure when it's released, it's going to do exactly what you want.
See, that's perfect, because there's nothing worse than having 5 or 6 sets of eyes run over your copy that's embedded in your sequence inside of Premiere. Then you get to the point where you're about to render it out. You render it out, you watch it on screen live where it's meant to be, and there's a typo. And you still had people review it. I mean, we've got...
I know.
Humans are great, but AI is better. Let's be honest.
AI is pretty good. Yeah. So this word here, it's like, it's not sure. So there's different, we're experimenting with like different colors or different, like a squiggly line means we're not sure. If it's an underline, then it's like that word's wrong. We're trying different things out all the time. So there's different builds every day. There's a new build of the beta versions of the products, and there's usually little tweaks in it. So we kind of want to get where people, we want your feedback. If you can give feedback, up in the top right, we have a beaker up there, and that shows you like what's new. And then you can like rate certain features.
No, that's handy.
But if you've got like specific feedback, then we got this little box here called provide feedback. You click on that, and then you can report a bug or request a feature or visit the community, because there's a whole bunch of people that are chatting about different features and functions, and you can kind of be part of the mix of everyone around the world to say, hey, this thing, what you say, that's what I have as well. And then that helps the engineers. The engineers literally are in and outside of that community page all the time. Even the product managers are in there. So
there you go.
You have a voice. You can be heard. All right. So if I right click on this word self-care.
I was going to say, before you go on, we've got another question.
Cool.
MILF, and they say, can you add words into the spell check library, like jargon, things like that?
How did you know that might be the thing I'd go to?
I thought it would lead into that.
In the beta. All right, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna actually create some graphics, right? Let's use a little graphics engine, because this is what's super cool. I'm gonna do that, super cool, and I'm spelling it deliberately wrong, right? So this is now text that's a title. It's not the transcript bit, so we're kind of moving away from that bit. But if I look at now, there's a third thing called graphics, and it's not caught that the word super is not spelt right. So let me just go in. I'm just going to type it instead of caps, because if you put something in all caps, it assumes it's an acronym, so it doesn't catch it. If you do that inside of something like Microsoft Word, it does the same thing. So I'm going to put in super like that. Oh, you know what? Oh, there we go. So now it's caught that there. So you got to keep your eye on this text panel, right? So the miscorrection won't show up in context to your overall visual look of the video, but it shows it here. So if I right click now, it says, oh, do you mean super? Yes. But look at this. Learn Supre.
There you go.
Oh, there is a brand called Supre in Australia, at least. So maybe that's what you want. Maybe you do want it to learn the word Supre. So that gets added into a dictionary. And if I look at the ellipsis and I see like specific things, right? There's a spell check settings, which is new. It's cool. And then we get to look at an Australian English dictionary. How good is that? And then you can type in words here that you know. So what's an Aussie word? I don't know.
G'day.
Let's think of something. G'day. Yeah, g'day. That's perfect. G'day, learn g'day.
And it'll remember that. So it won't come back with spelling errors because you've added that to the dictionary.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So what's even better? Here's what's even better. Right. Okay. In context. We did the analysis of the transcript, okay, using the Adobe Sensei engine in the cloud. And it took, I don't know, maybe it was twice as fast as the duration. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wipe the in and out range. I'll just get rid of this as well. Just keep this nice and clean. And we're going to do on-device processing. How cool is this? So I'm going to ask this to redo a 2 minutes 25 final mix. So there's music in there and sound effects and there's all stuff in there. You can see it's already done it, right? But I'm going to get it to redo it. So retranscribe the sequence.
Yeah.
Now, this has already had a switch ticked. So once you tick it once, you don't need to do it again. But now the engine is on your machine. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't have to send it to the cloud.
Okay.
You have a dictionary that's part of your system. So when you teach it words, you're teaching it on your system to certain words. And so you're teaching the AI on your system. Go away with these discard.
When you say system, are you referring to Premiere or the computer itself?
Premiere.
Premiere, yeah.
So that dictionary and the AI,
Premiere.
Adobe Sensei, is doing all this through Premiere's engine, right, to do this transcription. Now, the other thing that makes this doing it on the device faster than having to make a little MP3 and then in the background send it up in the cloud and get the analysis and get it come back again is it's way faster. So before we did something, it was like 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, and it took about 15 seconds to do it, which is like double real time. Pretty quick. So as I'm explaining this, it's just done in about 12 seconds, 2 minutes and 25 seconds of analysis.
Keep in mind,
and that's taking
beta, right? This is not in the current build, but it's in the beta version.
That's right. That's right. But what's cool is if you do the analysis here like that, and then you've got this information that's embedded in the sequence in the project. And remember, I said they're backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah.
So you could come and run the engine in the beta, and then if there's something funky with it, it gives feedback. But it does it super quick. Then you go back, close it, and then go back into Premiere 2022, and then keep working, and you've got like really fast turnaround on the analysis. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Interesting. Okay, we've got a question. Can you copy the transcription and paste it somewhere else, like for a podcast transcription or something similar along those lines?
It's almost like this audience are reading my scripted, like what I prepared. This is so cool. I love it. Another great question. Thank you. All right. The ellipsis is your friend. So in the ellipsis, you can have export to text file. Now, this is also working inside of the 2022 release. This bit is not just for the beta, but it's going to do the same thing. So when you export to text file, it takes whatever it is that's here and it puts it into a text file that you can then copy paste it somewhere else, or you can hand it on to someone or whatever. But it gives you the time code range, gives you the voice. So before I hit OK on that, I'll just cancel for a sec. In the unknown bit here, this is like trying to analyze a voice profile. It cannot tell who someone is. But what I can say is, you know what? Just let's edit the speakers list on this.
Love this.
Where it says unknown, I'm going to give it context. So I know who this is. I will call this VO person.
Yeah.
In any case, right? I've changed it and it's the same profile was picked up the whole way through. But when there's different voice changes, like different ranges of the voice, it can distinguish and goes, that's a different profile. So you can kind of have the voices assigned that way. Then when you go out and you export to the text file, and let's just throw this there, and then I'll go and grab that from
documents.
Okay, so let's look at documents. Yeah. See, I did this demo earlier today. And then I look at this, it says, hey, here's all the words.
Oh, wow.
It's also got It's got the time code, and then it's got the name of the person. Right?
Yeah. And it's a .txt
cool.
file, so you can put that. You can take that and put it anywhere. We've got an interesting / silly question from Joe.
Joe. I don't know Joe, but Joe.
What's your favorite Aussie slang word?
Ooh, there's quite a few. I think my favorite Aussie slang word is thong, because in other cultures,
You said that's a slang word, though?
Yeah. In America, and I would always have fun in the US with this.
Yeah.
A thong for them is a G-string.
Yeah.
So I'd talk about like incidences that I've had with my thong or my thongs, but I've always got a spare, because you get two. Like we always wear two thongs at the same time.
Yeah.
And their heads go, it's hilarious. It's so funny. I don't know, there's heaps. Chuck a wobbly.
Chugga wobbly. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. They have no idea what that is.
I say, how's it going every day? How's it going? But
Oh yeah, they get confused by that too. They kind of go, "What do you mean? Like, how am I going to go where I'm going? I'm walking." It's like, no. How are you? Oh, I think they say, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
We say, "How you going?" Cool. Okay. How are we going for time? We still got time. We got more stuff to show.
We got about 10 or so minutes left.
All right. Let's step away from like this cool new stuff that's in the captions. Although, you know, it's so good that we're getting this spell check system and a dictionary, and it goes across the graphics engine now as well. So, you know, this is just going to be a huge step up on anything to do with text involved with the content you make. That's very exciting. Now, a feature that we've had inside of Audition for some time, which is going to be coming into Premiere Pro soon, but you can access it now inside of the beta, is Remix.
Okay,
Remix.
So for those who are not familiar with Remix in Audition, I don't want to spoil your demo, but how would you describe it?
So when you've got music that you want to apply to your video, and let's say your video is nowhere near the duration of the original music track.
Like
and at the
your
start,
example there.
Yep, exactly. We've got a music track here and it's just way too long. It's got a really cool start, and I've kind of cut it so then the start is, there's a sync with what happens at the start. And then I really like the end, and again, I can find like a cool sync point where it ends. Now, what I might try to do is go, well, I just want to get in here and I'm going to cut this, and let's get the razor and we cut it there and we kind of cut it here, and then we select the selection tool and delete that, and we close the gap, and we kind of try to make this work, and it's, you know, things are maybe not going to be in sync, and you just go, hey, let's
sound good either.
And look, it might not exactly.
Yeah.
It might not sound good. So for me to find like how to shorten it, and it takes time, and sometimes it just doesn't work because it's just rubbish. Or you just fade it. That's boring.
Yeah.
You want the end, always make the end kind of interesting. And I kind of want to do that with this too. So in Audition, it's been there for a long time, but because you had to go out of Premiere and then go into Audition in order to use it, there's some friction, right? There's a step, and who wants these steps? Well, you don't have to wait for these steps anymore. We have added in the toolbox a brand new tool. In the ripple and roll and rate stretch tool, we now have a new tool called the Remix tool. So when that's selected, you can select the end of a music track and then just pull it in and say, you know what, be this long. And just Adobe Sensei, you figure out where maybe we would make those changes. So what's happened now, it's opened the Essential Sound panel. It's in music mode, right? So I'll select that and it goes, oh, it's automatically tagged it as music, and it's selected this remix option. And I've got these other options in here to continue tweaking where it has made the cuts. But if I zoom in here, I'm just going to zoom right on you. Let's make this
Hey, just what you did then, the keyboard shortcut to expand the timeline. What did you just do then?
See, this is why it's great to do the live thing.
That's a question from me.
Because I do these things, I don't even think about them because I've been using the tools so long.
Yeah.
But thanks for the question. Great question. Now, under your escape key, if you're on a US layout, like US keyboard layout, under the escape key is this squiggle. And then it's got like a little accent as well, right? So number one has also got above that, you've got an exclamation point. So, you know, there's two options. You hold shift and it does a different thing. But that button under the escape key is actually called the accent key. The squiggle's called the grave key. And we used to call it the grave key, but then we realized in order to actually make the grave as text, you have to hold the shift key down. So we changed it to the accent key. You tap the accent key wherever the mouse is over, and that panel becomes full screen temporarily until you tap it again. And then it goes back to whatever layout you had. So that's what I'm tapping, and it's based on the position of the mouse. Good question. Okay. If you can see squiggles through the music clip, those squiggles represent the timing, perfect sync to the beats per minute of that track. It's scissored this for us and stitched it together seamlessly. Look how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections that have been cut and merged for us perfectly.
So it's taken like a 3-minute or piece of music audio. You've dragged it back, and then I suppose Sensei, our artificial intelligence, has kind of said, right, I'm going to make the cuts here, but make them seamlessly merge together so that it actually sounds like there's no cuts, and it should be a 30-second clip.
That's right. That's totally correct. And notice now, like, I have the original start point, I have the original end point, and because of the complexity of the audio landscape of that entire 3-minute track, it's actually done its best to maintain sections of the landscape where it went, it sort of stayed in this zone for a bit. I'm just going to find a chunk of that. I'm not going to lose representations of the entire landscape. So it does a really good job of giving a feel of the entire track, but with a new duration. It's so cool. It's mind-blowing. People would lose it when I would show this in Audition.
Can we hear this, like, go through it?
Yeah, for sure. So pay super close attention to where the scissor marks are here, or these jaggy lines. I tell you what, let's just, what is it, 30 seconds? We got 30 seconds to spare. Let's just listen to the whole thing from top to tail, and we'll put it in context with, you know what, the visuals are probably not going to be that great because it's not a finished edit. But anyway, hear it out and tell me if you hear where the cuts are.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
That's just seamless. It's like
that's probably the coolest thing you're going to see for a long time, even though, you know, the transcript stuff's pretty amazing. But this is so much fun to mess with. So I'm going to show you how you can then continue to, like, get another version, because you can get different versions. It's so cool. It's so cool. So what you do in the...
Just before you do that, is a question. So the cuts, are they where the frames actually change?
No, it's not doing that. So all it's doing is it's making the soundtrack sound seamless to a new duration. And you decide what the duration is, and it will have parameters where it will go, I know you want it to go exactly like 19 seconds, but in order for me to maintain my beats per minute, and in order for me to maintain the beginning and the end, I cannot make it 19 on the dot. So it will go, I'm 20, let's say. It restricts it. So if I was to grab the edge and then try to go, just no, stop at this point, it goes, no, I'm sorry, I cannot. So sometimes you got to pull it just a little further in. If you do want it to make it a little bit shorter again, like I'm just going to keep pulling it shorter. There you go. Now it's closer.
Adjusting to make sure that it's in that space. Hey, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes to go, JB.
Well, the last thing I wanted to show was you can keep tweaking. So where the jagged lines are. So up here, I've got an edit length. That can go over there. Just go away. So over here, you've got your remix settings. So if I was to change that length down, you watch the jaggy lines in the bottom there, right?
Boop. Oh, yeah.
Round. Change the features. Boop. Changes again. Again. Like, you can totally just keep playing with this. It's so cool. That's the coolest thing. Now, I know we've got to wrap it up. This is exactly where I wanted to wrap it up. I expect everyone who's seen this video to download the beta, to play around with the auto spelling stuff, and to be messing around with this remix, because so cool.
Yeah, I think what you've shown is just really powerful, especially in terms of, look, that speech to text functionality, to think about how we used to do it, and, whether it be through plugins or just doing it manually. I've worked with customers who actually, they do transcription manually. They listen to what's being spoken to in the video, and they physically type it out in text tracks. Why would you want to waste hours of your time doing that when you can run AI that pretty much does it for you, and then enables you to focus on the more creative stuff? And then when it comes to remix, which you just showed, and then that example of you cutting sections out, we don't want to do that. We don't want to bore ourselves with that. So again, awesome updates, mate. Really, really cool.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me on, and those that have asked questions, it's so cool. Always happy to answer questions. And yeah, we just want to keep showing you like really cool stuff and make you get inspired about what you can do, because there's so much you can already like get your hands on and start doing really cool stuff and be quick.
Thanks so much for coming on today, JB, and hopefully we'll do some more in the future. And everyone else, thank you for joining, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.